Hi Renata, very nice to meet you today on
Hi.
Zoom environment, and I'm very much looking forward to our conversation. And it's really a pleasure to have this interview with you. I've come to know about your work and your practice when I was working on Guangzhou Biennial as associate curator under the directorship of Jessica Morgan. And I was actually
Great.
responsible of your installation in Guangzhou in South Korea.
Oh,
Yes, and it was really
really?
to work with your studio as well.
I was so wonderful. Yes, I was so sorry that I couldn't see it. I wasn't over by myself, but I think it was Jessica Norman said that's the most beautiful one.
Yeah, it was outstanding. It was so amazing. I think there was a kind of a feeling of audiences being mesmerized, and like we needed to kind of like take them out so that other audiences could visit. But it was an incredible work. The washing day hashtag that you've initially realized in 1984. What I want to start with is like, what is the work that you're showing at Frieze Masters at Richard Saltoun Gallery booth? Because I think if Frieze was not going to be, Frieze was not cancelled, you were going to exhibit them in physical form.
Perhaps I talk about the roots of the work of what I'm showing now. And the roots are going back to the 80s, where I decided, in the middle of the 80s, I decided to recapitulate the last 20 years of my work. I was working so obsessive, and suddenly I said, oh, what I am doing, I have to search for the red file or something like that. And the result of this recapitulation was my trilogy, Amo Ergo Sum, I love, therefore I am. And the three parts of it, the pornography, irony, and utopia, it came by itself. It just came by itself. It opened up, and it was so clear, the names and the content. And shortly said about the content, the pornography, as the word said, is about the war of the sexes. I say it very shortly, yeah? And about victims and, how do you call, perpetrators. Is this right? Perpetrators, yes. And the irony is a very, very important tool for me, a tool for getting into distance to intimate topics, yes. And therefore, it's about skin. Skin is a most intimate organ and the biggest of one. And as you mentioned, the washing day, that was the most important work for me about these skins, yes, these touching units, I said, yeah. And this irony interacts, the irony works about this, how we interact with the skin, how we hate each other through the skin, how we attract or repulse. And the utopia is the most difficult also to understand, also for me, not only for others, because it's not about future visions, about fantasies, but it has a very spiritual dimension. Yes, it's for me. It's a confrontation with the unknown. Yes, with the nothingness. And that means, and that therefore I say always, utopia is practicing death, but not the physical death, but the death of the ego, of the conditional, of what we have overloaded our psychological person, yes, with all its conditioning. Also this is this is the root of these works. Yes, and funny is that goes for all of my works, more or less. Of course, this division, pornography, irony, and utopia, is a very strict one, but not really. Yeah, every work contains more or less 3 aspects of it.
No, this was one of my questions actually. It's almost like there are like 3 pillars in your work that are almost like the foundations of each artwork. When you say irony, you know, like that kind of like putting that distance, or with utopia, it's about also like relating it to ego. What do you relate the pornography to? What does pornography stand for you? Is it sexuality? Is it desire? Is it?
It's more or less, very shortly said, it's a war of the sexes. Mm-hmm. How we fight through the sexes, and about victims and perpetrators.
Mm-hmm. 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 That's very, very interesting. And also in one of your interviews, you have assigned colors to these 3 concepts.
Yes, yes. Yes, it was,
pink.
Yes, yeah, that was funny. At the time when I published the trilogy, I was very interested also in kitsch, and therefore I was choosing for the pornography red, mm-hmm. anger. I mean, that's very simple expressed, but then irony is jealousy, yellow, yes, and utopia, of course, blue, the color of the 6th chakra and meditation, all that sort of things.
Yeah, also like a wasp.
Yes. Yes. And amazing enough, and you can see it, I hope you can see it in the background. Yeah. In 10 years ago, all these colors popped up again, and I am still collecting them like mad, and I have a huge collection here. You see a little bit in the background in the vitrine. All this red, yellow, and blue plastic kitsch.
I mean, actually, we could go to them, because I find also very interesting how you contextualize sex shops, as you have been informing that sex shops have been very important in your early practices, where it provided the materials for your work, the condoms or all the other kind of like sex toys, etc. But what I find very interesting is you don't only kind of attribute sexual desire to sex shops, but you also say that they are also like places of anxiety, aggression, or lust, disgust, attraction and repulsion. Yeah. Can you perhaps unpack this a little bit? Because it's very, very curious how you embody all these very contrasting feelings to, or like, let's say, emotions to a sex shop.
Yeah, I find I still go in sex shops because at the moment I'm working, I'm a complex with sex shop tools, and I still go there, and I find, I mean, when I went there in the 70s, I was alone. I was the only woman there, and I was looked at me, the man, what is she doing here, and what is she? Is she a prostitute? No, she doesn't look like that. But what is she, housewife? Also not. But I was shopping there like in a shopping center. No, it was quite natural. That made me very free there. And what I experienced there is what I experience until now is a great sadness, a sadness and anxiety of the young people, who are very many young women also coming there. And I find it very, how do you say, the sex really reduced to a exercise. Yes, they're taking this I need, this I need, this I need, this I need, pay quickly and go. Yes. So what are they looking for? I don't know really. I mean, satisfaction, of course, and fulfillment, but I don't know whether it helps or not, all this stuff.
No, but that's actually like a very interesting reading of sex shops as well. But also, I mean, if we were to kind of go to your use of, you know, like phallic or genitalia in your work.
And this spring awakening is a typical example for an ironic comment. It's a mockery of the awakening of the male sex. Of course, nobody should make jokes about awakening of the male sex. I mean, it should be like that. But I'm working on this topic like that, and I painted it in the form, as you have seen, of a huge snowball. Yes. And it's also my interest in kitsch. I'm sure you know this little snowballs where, for instance, the Eiffel Dome is inside and then it's snowing. Yes. And here you have a beautiful lush meadow with nice blooming penises in different sizes, and it's snowing on their heads. Big plants.
The Magic Carpet series is the first time you're going to be showing, right? At the Priest Masters booth.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk a bit about this as well?
Yeah, the Magic Carpets, there are two, I think, two. The orange carpet, I think, and yeah, the orange is inspired by a fairy tale, in fact, yes, which my mother was reading to me when I was a girl. And it's funny, there was a big orange tree, and when the girl behaved during the day very nice, when she picked the orange, it developed itself, it changed itself immediately in a golden orange, in a pure golden orange. And that was for me so wonderful. And on this magic carpet, you see also the, how do you say this, lash? No, how you call a lash?
Like
a mesh. A mesh.
Uh-huh.
A mesh, yeah. You see on the carpet, which I was wearing as a little girl. And this I was painting on this. And the other one with the towers, that's also interesting. These towers are, in fact, ritual places of the witches. Secure places for them, because they were always accused of moral corruption, of course, yes. And the trilogic colors, they are trilogic, yeah. They express the pornographic, ironic, and utopian aspect of their conspirations, yeah. And this interest comes, of course, I'm grown up more or less in the 70s with the feminist art of the 70s. And at this time, the witch was born and used as an identification pattern for female resistance and to social discriminations and oppressions of women. Witches, we thought we all were witches, were fighting like witches.
I think it's, you know, on one hand, you are a very outspoken feminist practitioner. You've also worked with, you know, like different collectives and women's groups. On the other hand, I feel there's a lot of reference to literature, from mythology to, you know, like different specific cultural references to Japanese culture of erotica. And on the other hand, I think, and perhaps that's where the irony and humor comes in, there's a playfulness about all these. So it makes your practice very complex and very multi-layered, because it's almost like you're also, if I could say that, you're dancing with these kind of like ideas. There's a very strong feminist position, which I find very inspiring, you know, also about like still talking about like phallocracy, and you know, you're saying that the heightened concentration of the penis is actually to disarm it, is like a very strong, you know, proposition on its own right. But also at the same time, there's that playfulness that comes in, where it isn't, you know, it isn't only one thing. And it kind of like, as you said, what with also your constellation of irony, utopia, and pornography, it's almost like it always, the combinations of them give new meanings, new, you know, like production to new works. How do you frame this? Or for you, what lies in the artistic production?
I didn't understand that.
Like as an artist, with, you know, all these different kind of, you know, like input and references, how do you approach a work of art? What is the artistic production for you? Or how does it happen? When does a work of art happen for you?
You know, I'm more or less, it's not exaggerating, I'm more or less 24 hours in a state of, how do you say, of waiting. The best word is waiting. I'm just waiting for inspirations, yes? Without any pressure, of course. That doesn't work, yeah? And of course I have many input, yeah? Through my interest in, so as you said, in many topics, yes, pornography and irony and utopia, as it covers the whole world more or less, yes, for me. And as I said, this combination produces, or this connection produces constantly new inspirations and links, and it pops up, and then I have to decide, oh, what shall I do, yes? And this is the most difficult thing to decide what is at the moment most important for me, yes, for me to work. This I have to wait, and then I have to choose, and then I have to work. And to work, the most difficult thing is to wait. I don't have to start to work before the picture of it is absolutely crystal clear. Mm-hmm. This is one method of working. Mm-hmm. Other stand in front of a blank canvas and wait for the inspiration, and start and work over. No. Mm-hmm. I start only when everything is very clear inside of me.
The show that Value Export invited you in Austria, that the artistic director didn't like some of your collages, but then he liked the female genitalia exposure. So I was very curious, because it is a very outspoken and provocative, your practice has a very provocative language to it. So I was wondering, like, what was the biggest challenge you experienced to date when exhibiting your work?
I mean, a big challenge, of course, was the Biennale. Yes.
Yeah.
To create a work as the first woman a first artist who could do it alone. The expectations were huge, of course. Yes, it must be something very special. But of course, I was not disturbed by that. But nevertheless, it was a hard work, of course. It's always hard work, such a big exhibition, yes.
Mm-hmm. But did you feel like you had to change things because people would react to it, or did you have any?
Oh, I have never changed
censorship. Huh?
I've never changed anything when because of other people.
That's amazing. That's really amazing to hear. No, that's really
No.
Okay. We are also running out of time. I have one last question because the meeting is about to end. I have one last question. What would be the 3 pieces of advice you would give to your younger self?
To younger artists?
No, yourself.
To myself?
Yeah, like when you look back and then imagine yourself in like just graduating in the late 60s from university. What would be the 3 pieces of advice you would tell to young Renate?
That's a funny question. What shall I say?
What would you advise her to do?
Always listen to your inner voice. Don't stress. Give yourself time, yes. Step by step. And never give up. Don't give up. Yeah.
I love it. It's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope we can meet in the future in person and have a longer conversation.
Yes, and in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
In person.
Yeah.